I will record. We can just trim it down.
Okay.
It'll put it on my laptop, not my Zoom, which is what we want.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I don't want my company having access to it and questioning me on why I'm doing this. Where, Dennis, I'm here because my company pays for me to have premium Zoom, which means that this meeting can go as long as you guys need it to, instead of the 40 minutes that Zoom allots for free accounts. But we don't want my
How do you do that? Did you take over the Zoom account?
I made her host.
I'm the host.
Oh,
So
Which
I
is okay,
scheduled.
because I'm very skilled with Zoom. I'm qualified.
Yeah. So you will make me able to screen share because I don't have.
Should be able to do it now.
Okay. And I will
Mhm.
find a blank place to. Okay.
You want to, you can also send me the files and I can share them.
Oh,
We can
well,
save
it's
them.
the PorcFest map. You mean the one that's on PorcFest, the most recent one on PorcFest, right, Dennis?
yeah. So
hub map.
porcfest.com/hubs-3 would be the proper one for that one. And then I don't know where you got my little 4 events thing that you showed on Monday. That was very good.
I downloaded it from Signal.
Well, that was very smart of you, my dear.
And then and I think I can just send it to Miranda via Facebook or Signal real quick. Forward it to her so she can have it available when we
That's
ask.
good. Yeah. Because what I think we'll do is we'll show the overall map and talk to that in terms of how many events are going on and all the things that are happening at all the different events. And then we'll say, okay, now we're going to zoom down into this field area and look at what's going on there. You know, I think that people think that it's only 4 events. It's like, no, all hell's breaking loose.
I don't need my glasses for this, but if you bring me water, that'd be awesome. Thanks, love. Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously this call is for more than just that. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
do you
So-
remember which Signal group you shared it in, Dennis? Because I apparently downloaded it and can't find it.
Okay. So I think I can probably share it with Miranda. Let's see if I can do that. Miranda, are we connected on Signal?
I
on.
don't know.
I am connected to Miranda on Signal. Oh, this person isn't using Signal. Miranda is not.
Okay, that's not me then.
That's probably the old number.
Oh,
You can look me up by my number though.
Miranda Animus.
Yeah,
That's the right one.
Is that she?
Yep.
Is that you?
that is
Yeah.
me
Officially.
Animus. Oh my goodness. Alive.
legally.
I think it's the
Alive.
happenings chit chat but it's on my
Okay,
laptop,
here
so.
I'm now sending that to you, and this is the 4. And before we show that, we'll show the hubs and talk about that, and then go to this. But that should be just one question. So that has been sent to Miranda as she's picking that up. Constance, do you have the list of items, questions?
I'm pulling it up now.
Good.
Have you
Okay.
modified it since you sent it earlier?
Yeah, I have.
Okay,
I
because I
have.
looked at it about 6:30 and then I
Okay,
went and made
cool.
dinner.
Well, that's nice. That's nice.
Yes.
So 6:30 actually I would not have modified it that much. But let me just show you kind of a little bit of what we're doing here. Okay.
Okay.
So on column D are the questions. I've grouped them by column C and prioritized the questions. What's our purpose? Whom are we targeting? Diversity, gay, child. So it's actually kind of a logical flow. Although I think it's fine for us to kind of jump around, especially given that I have a lot of the early stuff and you have a lot of the late stuff. So I might jump around and ask you something about, here's a question about LGBTQ. For you, is it friendly? That type of thing.
Mhm.
Once you're done, okay, so if you're looking at line 12, once you're done with a question, zero out that one.
Okay.
Okay, boom, question's gone.
Okay.
And we know that we're done with that. Okay.
Okay.
So that way we can kind of keep going. And then I have Carol here, and she's going to add to the very bottom, additional questions as they come up in chat. She's going to try to categorize them, but that's not going to be necessary. But that way, we'll kind of know. Now, I did combine the questions. I'm hoping that we're doing a little bit less than a minute per. There's, a couple in the front are going to be a lot heavier.
Okay.
But if we do a minute per, we're probably talking about an hour and a half or so, maybe
So
two.
who is asking the questions? Are we just going to read the question and then?
I was thinking that we would trade off, and so I would say, here's a question for you, Constance.
Okay.
Is PorcFest LGBTQ friendly?
Okay.
Okay. And then, you could answer that, and then you could ask me a question. And so we could go back and forth like that, maybe.
Okay. I'm going to make the font bigger then because I turned out the glasses. I know how to do this. And we're just going down straight down the
Well,
list.
that's what I was suggesting. That
Okay. That you've already organized them, so they're not the entry number that's important. It's the column.
Right. So they are organized by, the grouping is a higher priority. And then within the grouping, they're kind of ordered somewhat logically, but I
Okay.
think it's okay to jump around. So for example, I maybe we don't stay that long on RFK. Maybe we go back and forth. And so I ask you a question about diversity. I'm a libertarian, but not comfortable around guns. Are there really guns all over PorcFest? And so you would answer that. Again, we don't need to be overly long. We're looking for 30 to 60 seconds. I'll probably chime in something to reinforce, and then you would ask me a question, and you can be going straight down because mine are pretty much heavily loaded at the top.
Okay.
And then you ask me a question there. I'm going to open up with a question to you. The last time I came to PorcFest was 2016. What are the biggest changes? I think that kind of sets the table. And then I'll probably add in on that. Then you can ask me a question, about the purpose, and then I'll ask you a question about diversity, and we'll just keep on moving from there.
Okay.
So
Right.
to clarify, you want to start with the map of all of Roger's shared, right? Or do you want?
I don't think we need to start right off on the. Well, yeah, we'll probably share that pretty quickly.
Okay. I have them
because
open and ready. Just let me know, and I'll share my screen so you guys don't have to scramble for them.
And then the 4 events, we only have to show that when we're talking about, why is PorcFest being made gun free? Okay, and so there we'll share the overall hubs. Say, look, all of these hubs, there's guns all over the place, blah, blah, blah. Let's zero in, all week long, the guns. See this one over here, the guns, you can take guns in there, over here, guns. All these events will be pro guns. And now down here, but only on Thursday, only Thursday morning, now over here, and this is the one little section, can we zero in on that? And then you'll switch over to that zero. Now here, that's just this one.
Dennis, I have to interrupt. We'll cover that one again in a minute. Is my otter trying to get in, Miranda? I
don't see Otter. I see Omer, which is close, but I don't think that's it.
No, Omer's a person. Okay, let me see if it's recording. It sent me an email saying it was going to.
This is recording. It's not in here though. And it has to be in here for it to work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I signed on, it said it was recording. I don't know if that's helpful.
That's recording, but not the otter thing.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a plugin that just happens automatically. Let's see.
You want to open it up and say hi to folks as we're messing around in the back, or?
You want me to let them in?
Yeah, it's 7:29. I'd like to start on time. We'll do about 5 minutes of warm up, and
it says it's working on joining your meeting. Like it knows that it's happening and it's trying to record it.
There it is. It just popped up.
Okay, maybe it's because it's 7:30 now. But yeah, Miranda, go ahead and let folks in. I will bring up the
Come in
people.
now.
Okay.
There's Amber, Tom Mannion. Tom, you're a stud. Reagan.
For now, everyone has the ability to unmute if they want to talk
Ooh,
and
Bob
chat for a
Pyle.
moment.
Hey, Bob.
But once we get started, I am going to shut it down so that way only the organizers are able to unmute and speak, just so we're all on the same page.
So hi everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm gonna figure out which correct view I need here so I can see everything. There
It
you
will
go.
change once we start sharing screens as well.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
No, I think I've got it. I think I can see the questions and the people who have cameras on, or at least the first page of them.
Bob, I just saw your entry with Jim Ostrowitz on what to say to the cops when you get stopped. I'm so happy you're doing that. That's going to be a great event. Omer. There's Omer. I like Laura's dog. That is a hound dog.
I'm sure my cat will be making an appearance at some point.
Yeah, Ron Paul's been like jumping all over the place. So he may be jumping in my lap at some point. He's very excited about PorcFest.
So are my children. Which is, oh, it's Jack from Reagan's laptop.
Ooh, Annie. You know, we should have Annie talk to the parents at some point so that she can meet up with them.
Surprise. That's when you can. Is that what you said?
Welcome everyone to an attendee Zoom call. We're going to wait a little bit for people to join us. You know, it's we're not yet on PorcFest time, but we'll do a little bit of warm up. We will be having a different call, which will be a hub call on Wednesday, and that's for the announced hubs. We'll be going through kind of how to be a cool hub, how not to be a cool hub, and you know, some tricks of the trade and things like that. This is for attendees, and usually we do an attendee call a little bit earlier, a little bit later, but usually we don't have the drama that we've been having this early on at PorcFest. So we're you know, it's double X, double size, double the drama. So
but it's also good because we're having the drama now to hopefully help with the drama after. So instead of having the drama come, you know, like if everybody has clear expectations going in and what we're trying to do, then hopefully the drama after is like, well, the information was out there.
What kind of drama?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, there has been a lot of questions being asked and confusions, and you know, I think you know, PorcFest is actually this kind of magical time when we actually don't have that much drama. PorcFest is a really good feeling type of festival. And, you know, I think it's just that we're all on social media and we've been kind of fighting on social media with various people, and we're just so used to that. And then when we actually meet in person, we recognize our own humanity and we start treating one another a little bit more kindly, maybe. So I do think that this is something that's somewhat odd.
I think it's great that you don't know what the drama is. That probably just is an indication that we just want to make sure people are clear ahead of time, and that it's probably not as much drama as it feels like when we get it all day from different angles.
Planning's hard too. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If anybody's doing a big event, they know it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think the way I've been counting it, this is drama number 7. So we're up to 7. And usually at this time, for the attendees, we're around 0. So it's very unusual to have this much drama. So hopefully that's just because people are so excited that they want this thing to be so successful. And it's going to be successful. I mean, I'm already excited by the different events that are going on and the hubs. We're already over 100 hubs. And I know of a lot of hubs that have not yet decloaked and are planning to decloak. And then there are always, about 15% of the hubs, they stay, they don't want to go on Google Forms. They don't want, they're, I'm not going to listen to you, or they just can't get their stuff together and get their hubs up on the map.
Does the hub include if you're doing, if you're a vendor? Because we haven't gone before, so we really only know what we could find online. But so
yeah,
be a vendor.
So you can sell anything anywhere, really. Especially if you have your own campsite, you could just sell out of there.
You
A
were
hub is
saying
really
down the road.
kind of a center for activity.
Okay.
So I divide them into venues that are actually having events. So they'll have speakers or gatherings or show and tells or demos or songs and music, and so it's actually kind of more geared towards events. There are lounges that are really just kind of more for hanging out. Now you could also have an event in a lounge, sure. But there's vendors, 3 types of vendors: product vendors, service vendors, and food vendors. And you can declare yourself a vendor, and you'll be put on the map so people can find you.
Oh,
I
so we
highly
should let
recommend
you
that.
know? Do we let you know? Do we let you know that?
Actually, this would be really good to cover. If you can you make Wednesday's chat where we cover for hubs?
Well, she's
Yeah.
not even a hub, so she will never get the
Oh,
information.
that's
Are you on
true.
Facebook?
I'm on Facebook. Like
Okay,
I've been
so
reacting, and I keep asking people the question, how do you do it? How do you do it? But nobody's responding to me.
Oh,
so there are featured posts at the top.
Okay.
Okay. And those posts have links to explanations, to here's how you enter your hub. Here's how to, all that stuff is up there. I can't explain it all because it just takes so long.
Yeah.
Please just go to the featured pinned post and go through there.
Yeah.
And if you need additional help, at me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering, like, how, like the mechanics of it. If you don't have, because if you have a campground, then it's easy, right? You just sell your stuff there. But if you're staying down the road, how does that work? You still get
Right. Yeah. So
You-
we
you
actually
have
have a fairly recent post that said that these hubs are looking for additional people, and some of them are looking for vendors. So go down and find that post. That's actually a featured post. So if you're looking to just set up a table on someone else's spot, there you go. You're done.
Okay.
Yep. That featured post also has the links to the forms so you can fill them out. So if you find a place that you want to have an event, then you add the event through the forms as well.
Yeah, but she just wants to sell something at someone
Yeah.
else's site. So
Yeah.
and you can always just talk to someone, say, hey, can I sell something on your site? And boom,
Okay.
there you are.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So we're going to go ahead and
Yep.
Miranda, if you could mute everyone. What we have is we have a bunch of questions that have come in. You can ask additional questions in the chat. Carol's over here. She's going to add them to our already long list. We're going to try to get through them pretty quickly. But the first question here is, the last time I came to PorcFest was 2016. What are the biggest changes? Constance, you've been here since the 2012, 2013.
2013.
So how has PorcFest changed for the people who are coming back for the Big 20 festival?
Well, the biggest change is the way the campground is structured now. Before, all the vendors were in those first few rows, and we had the Agora Valley, and then PorcFest Inc. had the field, where there was the pavilion talks, and I think we had the VIP tent still then, which is now not a thing.
Miranda, put up the map so that they can see what she's talking about.
So let's see, in 2016, also the registration was in the arcade, which was really made it hard for, well, I actually started with registration for 2017, so I'm going a little too far back, but 2016.
The other
You
one,
know,
the full one.
there was a great kids track in 2016. There still is. My kids were much younger then, obviously. But the biggest thing, it was just it was quieter. We had to stop at the gate, show our bracelets to get in. We don't do that now. And there's a lot of changes. A lot of them are hard to see. And obviously the water issues and facilities breaking has been an ongoing problem that fortunately, I can't say we've solved it, but we've had a lot more less challenges in the last few years with that, even though the attendees numbers is much higher. So I'd say the biggest change is the Dennis and I were just talking about with the hubs and having a lot of decentralized, like you buy your ticket, you don't have to check in. We want you to check in for planning purposes. It makes my job as an operations person to know exactly what to order so much easier. And for some of the big events down on the field, you will need to be wearing your bracelet to show that you paid for a ticket. But there's nobody walking around like trying to enforce that, unless like I said, it's a big event. So that's probably the biggest change. Like a lot more happening all over the place all the time, and less like stop, make sure you're part of the festival feeling that was kind of ramping up after 2000. And well, I'm not sure after when, but ever since I started going, there's been magnets on the cars to come in, and we still will have those. But yeah, COVID changed a lot, and it was a great chance to reset. So let's move on. Dennis?
Actually, I just want to just reinforce. If you're looking at the map there, you see the area in the bottom right-hand corner that says field. So in the old model of PorcFest, most of the big activities were down there in that field area. And then we had some vendors in the first kind of 2 rows, kind of like they are now. And what we did was we basically took that and we splashed it all over the campground. You can see the Silk Road cutting across there. That's a cut across all the different campgrounds.
That is a different addition as well.
So that you can actually access these various hubs that are happening. And the hubs can be like we were talking about with Kimberly, that they can be food vendors or product vendors or service vendors. But a lot of times they're lounges. Just come in and hang out. We have the introvert one up at the top. You see INV. That's a new innovation this year. I'm very excited about that. That is just absolutely fantastic. So if you're really kind of an introvert, which we tend to be, there are some extroverts, and that's I, Carla. You know those people. But this is a great place to go and hide out. So it's just so brilliant. But then there's venues that all these activities, all these events, we went from somewhere around 120 events total, and now we'll have pretty close to 1,000 events. Okay. The way that we did that was by creating all these different hubs. And so this year we'll have, last year we had something like 70 hubs. This year we have already over 100. So I thought I projected about 100. We're already over 100. So we're going to have, it's going to be a lot of choices, a lot of events, a lot of activities, a lot of things for you to do. And, every time that you're at one hub, guess what? You're not at the other 99 plus hubs. So there's a lot of things that you won't be doing. All right, go ahead.
So actually this leads well, like looking at the campground. What is the purpose of Porcupine Freedom Festival? We just saw it. What's the point?
So basically Porcupine Freedom Festival had a little bit of difficulty. It was always a little bit hard to break even. It wasn't serving what we wanted it to do, which was bring in new movers. It became kind of more of an OG place where people kind of hung out who were OGs, and a few people would come in and they'd be like looking around, trying to figure out how to integrate. And of course, they're introverts, right? So they're having trouble. So that was really my main goal, was to shift it over to become very solidly our number one goal. And it was really my only goal early on, was to shift it over, that it is to help new potential movers come and find out what the Free State Project is, learn what we're doing, all the different things that we're doing, all the cool things that we're doing, and consider coming and joining us and building our libertarian homeland here. Now, pretty quickly, I came up with a hub idea, and the hub idea is actually a great way for people to test out new businesses and new ideas and new groups. Within the Free State movement, we have well over 100 different groups individually. And so, this is a good way that if you're excited about maybe exploring a group, you could actually start it here and see if people like it. But the primary thing, the only thing that it really is, and so many of the design changes were geared towards this, is that we need to find additional movers to come here. If you're already here, there's things happening every single day. We have, 6 events, 10 events happening every day. And so you can pick and choose. And, I keep on joking that what I really want is I want PorcFest 365. But for somebody coming from out of state, they don't really understand what it is that we're trying to build here. And so PorcFest was our attempt to say, hey, here is this gigantic big tent, lots of people, lots of different types of liberty activities. You come here and you could be part of this group or part of that group, and it's all part of the Free State movement.
Thanks, Dennis. Do you have a question for me?
Oh, you may have to pull off a question, because I was just yeah. All right, I'll ask.
I'm actually working on upgrading my Zoom because we're having issues. So it'll be done in 1 second here.
So here we go. So, oh, what happened there? I am a libertarian, but not comfortable around guns. Are there really guns all over PorcFest?
There are. However, if you're not comfortable with guns, as a person who used to run a gun store in Alaska, and is not frequently seen with a gun, I would suggest that PorcFest is one of the best places to become more comfortable with guns, because there are so many gun people at PorcFest that they are, all right, we're upgraded, guys, unlimited minutes. There are so many guns there, but there's also so many gun people there that are really key on teaching the basics of gun safety. So if anyone sees improper gun handling, which is probably the biggest risk at PorcFest, we get a lot of people moving here from states where they've never been able to have like a magazine with over 10 rounds, or even, I think there are states that it's even more limited. So they get to New Hampshire. One of the first places they go is to purchase a firearm, and they're excited and they want to, have conversations around the guns. But there's so many people here that will direct that at PorcFest that will direct them in New Hampshire to how to handle it safely. So that's great. And obviously, if there is actual threat, you are not in a gun-free zone, that there's no one around to help you, and you just kind of have to take whatever violence is dished out. So,
yeah, I'd say that only about a quarter of the attendees are actually carrying guns. Most of them are, most of them open carry, just because it's like kind of a place where they can open carry. But then there will be some people who do concealed carry as well. So about 3/4 of the people are more like me. They're not actually carrying. I came from all these big cities and stuff, and I remember that was actually that was the part that was kind of the weirdest for me when I first went to my first PorcFest. I was going, wow, I've never seen this many guns. I've never really seen guns on regular citizens. Always police, you have them. But it's kind of one of those things that you get used to pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I worked in a gun store, so it was actually less guns down here, but
All right, Constance, here I have another question for you.
okay.
My husband is libertarian, but I'm not. Will there be things for me to do at PorcFest?
Definitely. There are so many different types of libertarians that you can find your niche, whatever it is. Miranda, who's running this call for us, is frequently doing a Stitch and Bitch. That's not her event, but she is doing an event this year. Stitch and Sip or some Bitch and Stip, something like that. It's wine. It's in the evening. So there's that. Obviously, if you're interested in economics, there's that, and you don't have to be a libertarian to be interested in economics. I hear this is a thing that you can be interested in. I am very interested in economics, so I'm not just going to default to gender types of events. However, if you're a mom, there's so many families, there's playgrounds, there's kid events. Like you could go to PorcFest. I mean, if you're single and or not single, if you're children free and you like to party, I mean, you could just stay up for the party times while your husband's doing the libertarian gun comparison, and then you can go all of PorcFest without having a political conversation. It will be hard, but it can happen. It can be just about community building.
And we do have the Liberty 101 hub, which is one of my favorites. And as a matter of fact, next year when I'm just a regular attendee, I'll be taking part of that and making it into my own hub. But that's actually geared towards beginners, beginner cryptos and beginner Free State Project and beginner, what is it that we're talking about? So we actually have a number of hubs that are kind of geared towards those types of things.
So let me ask you another question. Since we're talking about the type, and I just mentioned the party, is the party in the mountains really a model of the type of society you want to build?
Yeah, the Free State haters really like to use that straw man that, look at all these liberty people, they're up in the mountains and they think they just want society to be one gigantic party. Now, it definitely is a party, but we also have some of the best economists and best thinkers and best ethicists, philosophy. How do you, so there's also the nerdy side. But no, I mean, if you look at our calendar at fsp.org, if you go to fsp.org and look at our calendar, you'll see the types of events that we regularly have through the course of the year. And a lot of it is, thoughtful debates and that type of thing. I think what we're really trying to demonstrate here is the diversity of the Free State movement. The Free State Project is like 5 people on a board and two workers, paid workers, and that's all the Free State Project is. The Free State movement is this, thousands of people who've moved here in hundreds of different groups, and the groups are quite diverse. And, frankly, we're going to be getting into it. Some of the groups don't really get along that well because they don't agree on how one uses one's freedom, but we don't use violence with each other. Now what we do at PorcFest is we bring all these groups together, and some of the drama right now is this group doesn't like that group, and they're going, well, I don't want that here, and that's PorcFest. And it's like, well, PorcFest is kind of a big tent thing. So, kind of pick it up, buttercup, it's PorcFest is big tent. In the Free State movement, we do have some siloing. And I think that's really what's going on.
So I would also say, and just kind of a sneak preview, that we are working on other events because we have so many events going on all the time. PorcFest becomes a concentration of events. But every weekend there's more events than you can possibly attend, and we're going to highlight that later in the year with other Free State sponsored projects.
Oh, you mean like PorcFest is a big event, and
Mhm.
we do have other big events that are kind of gathering events, is what you're
Right.
suggesting. Okay.
Right. So this one having the element of being at the party in the mountains is accurate, but it's more than just a party, and as you've already explained.
Yep. Okay, Constance, is PorcFest LGBTQ friendly? Here's another question along those lines. I am LGBTQ. Is PorcFest for me?
Yes. Most of the that one's just, to me, is just a yes. I started in the years of big Buzz's big gay dance party, and and it was just, it's always been a place where people can be themselves. Now, because we are an outreach event, there will be people that are less comfortable around LGBTQIN, the whole gamut, and those folks might not behave as nicely as we'd like them to, not in a violent way, but in words. And so if you are the kind of person who is very sensitive to words, it might not be the right place for you. But as a parent of a child who is autistic and uses they them pronouns as a non-binary child, I have taught them that you can't expect people to get it right immediately, and correcting them is part of being your identity. The same way I've had to correct people throughout my life about other things. So I think for me, I see it as a training place, because we have so many people that are curious gathering in the mountains.
Yeah, and my experience has been that it's been in the past extraordinarily tolerant of different lifestyles and different types of events and stuff like that. I mean, the drama that we're having here demonstrates an intolerance that, maybe it's just because we are doing more siloing within the Free State movement, and people are saying, well, no, of course we all agree, and they agree in their little silo. They do agree, but it's like, okay, but that's only one small part of the movement. And I think it's actually good to get everyone together at PorcFest so they can see, oh, those people are libertarians, those people are well, maybe we disagree, maybe that's not something for me, but live and let live. So PorcFest is more that live and let live ethos. Certainly we get rid of, libertarianism. Authoritarianism could be thought of as requiring two major pieces. One is narcissism, that everyone must be exactly like me. And the second one is psychopathy. I may use violence, usually the states. I may use violence to force everyone to be just like me. So libertarianism, the first step of libertarianism is getting rid of the violence part. And that's the part that we absolutely have got to get rid of. Come on, folks. And unfortunately, that oftentimes leaves the narcissism, and people go, well, people should still be like me, even though I can't use violence. And then they're like kind of being rude and stuff like that. And, I really frown upon that. I don't like seeing that generally. And I think PorcFest, because PorcFest is advertised as a big tent thing, the people who go there tend to be big tents. So
yeah, I would agree with that. And one of the questions you were asked is a good segue into this, is what type of people are you looking for?
Well, first of all, potential new movers. That's our key thing. People who are really serious about liberty. That's what we care about. The Free State movement is trying to concentrate liberty people into one small area. We're not a conversion movement. We're not trying to convert people. We're not supplication. We're not trying to beg our masters for something. We are concentrating liberty people who believe in self-ownership in one small place, and they're creating a society that's not based on violence and on trying to force each other to be just like me. And of course, they're trying to force each other to be just like them. And we get into these stupid battles all the time. So anyway, so that's the number one criterion that we're looking for. You know, I do think it's easier for PorcFest attendees to be kind of more tolerant and big tent, you know, live and let live. You know, it's just easier because you are going to see a gigantic variety of Liberty people. All we really do is share that one ethic that we will not initiate violence against you, right? But on top of that, you can live your life extremely stoically or you could live it very libertine. And you're going to see both types at PorcFest. You're going to see some of the strongest, most character people, and you're going to see people who are, are maybe a little bit out of their personal control. It's a wide variety. You're going to see Catholics and Muslims, and you're going to see
I would
atheists.
also like to say that the people that are libertine don't necessarily mean that they are out of their control of their life. Like, I would like to say that those are not, just because the way you worded it, I don't want it to come off like the stoic people are the ones in control of their lives, and these people that choose these alternative lifestyles are not, because we actually have these amazing alternative lifestyle people that are doing great building within our community. So I want to make sure that's very clear.
Okay. Will there be drag queen story hour, Constance?
We can't answer that because it's decentralized. I know that there's not any on the schedule, and the person who said that there was going to be drag show story hours all over PorcFest later then said that they would be hosting it, and then later said they would not be hosting it because they don't like children. So you have to follow the drama to the end to get the full story. I was actually the most offended by the fact they just don't like kids, because I have 4 of them and I think they're pretty awesome, although 2 of them are adults now. So I would like a much more welcoming, kids are awesome approach, but I'm not going to ban people that don't like kids. So I don't know of any story hours. I do know there are people that are hosting other events. Dennis just posted a very interesting one in the Body Freedom Village, where they are going to have a naked gun show and encourage people, if they'd like to be more feminine and out of their camo, that they can put on makeup and wigs. So is the Body Freedom Village a story hour for children? No. Is it targeting children? No. It does allow children during the day with a parent and the parental consent. So parental rights are being reinforced even by the folks that are kind of pushing the boundary of family friendly.
That drag queen story hour was it was one of those, the most bizarre, that counted as 2 dramas, because there are dramas on both sides there. And it just was so amazing, because you had people who didn't have kids arguing with people who didn't want kids about what each other should do with their kid. And I was just going, why are you guys so busy with each other's potential future family? Just leave everybody be. So anyway, it's a good sign of kind of being in people's faces and business that I think is more Twitter, and it's just not part of PorcFest. I think if people really, really, really believe that they should be dictating to parents how to raise their children, or or to adults how to live their lives, PorcFest really isn't for you. If you have to kind of, I joke that PorcFest is so fine because there might be something that offends you. Perhaps you're somebody who thinks that the neck should never be shown in public. Okay, that offends you. So turn 15 degrees, because there's like all these other things happen. You just turn your head. It's a talent, it's so, libertarianism is so easy. You just go like this, and now all of a sudden it disappeared. It's fantastic. And what was the best part of some of these dramas is people who had announced previously they were not going to go to PorcFest were the principal ones screaming, and oh my Lord.
So we should probably ask this next question because it'll segue in. It's a question you're going to ask me, but is PorcFest really family? Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, these kind of go together. Will there be
Yeah.
people walking around naked in front of my child at PorcFest? And this kind of goes into the property rights. Dennis and I had a conversation early in producing together about, will the roads allow nudity at certain times of the day, or this or that or the other, and quite honestly, that just the easiest way to make sure that all these tents can exist together is to say that there are no nudity except in the individual hubs. Does that mean it will be 100% followed? No. We have confidence that the people who are running the Body Freedom Village will follow but that doesn't mean that everyone who goes to PorcFest who is a nudist will even know the rule ahead of time. So that's when we as producers will use the rangers to ask for people to put their clothes back on, make sure they're following our rules, and go from there. So there is no guarantee that your children will not see a naked person at PorcFest. It is not a common thing though. I know my kids last year said there were naked kids in the pool, and that was the only exposure they had to naked kids or naked people at all. So in my opinion, that means it's family friendly, but obviously every parent has to decide for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you actually prefer a silo, and like I said, in the Free State movement, we actually do have silos. We have groups here that really prefer their own kind, and they create covenant communities, and they have particular types of standards and stuff. A big tent Freedom Fest is probably not the best place to be. It's just going to be too it's going to be too hard on you, because you have to be able to tolerate differences. Now we did get away for some reason. People thought that this campground that we're renting was a commons area and that they could do anything they wanted to in the commons. And so we've had these overly long debates about whether they can do this and do that. And in a free society, you can do this. And look, it's really kind of more like our house, right? It's the big house, gigantic house, and you have your own rooms, your own campsites, and you can do whatever you want in your campsites. We're not going to go in there and mess around with you and stuff like that. But there aren't commons. It's not like we don't do tragedy of the commons. We try to minimize the rules and stuff like that. And I know you're going to say, well, this rule is bad or that rule. Okay, great. That's the rules of the house. Okay. But we do that. It's hard to make decisions. The decisions will change over time. Right now, we've made a number of decisions. One of them is, as Constance says, no nudity in the commons areas.
But that's not the only rule that we made, nor do Dennis and I actually care. So it's not us putting our will on the attendees. It's us trying to do what will make the event the most successful for the target audience. I personally told my kid when they were upset by the naked, because autistic kid, my kid gets upset when people don't follow rules, is that leave the pool if the kid is naked and you don't want to see, or like Dennis said, turn your head. So we that's how I asked my kid to handle that, because I personally don't think that children need to wear clothes. But the rule wasn't established last year like it is for this year. I still don't think I would call a ranger if I say a 3-year-old naked, because I've had too many 3-year-olds that didn't want to wear clothes. So I think that, I lost my thought. Sorry, Dennis. I'll ask you a question. How will we do that?
All right. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, now that I've opened up the property rights, maybe we should get into the meat of the property rights questions. So we'll start with, isn't the pavilion our showcase for the FSP?
Okay, so yeah, in the old days, when everything was down in that field, the pavilion was pretty much the central site. But going with this hub strategy, and really what I'm looking at here is the Free State movement. So the Free State Project, remember, is just a couple of people, right? It's not a dictatorship. It's not a top down. The Free State Project doesn't say, oh, everyone ought to be doing this. Instead, it's inviting Liberty people to come here. And then when they come here, there's hundreds and hundreds of different things that they're doing. And so to reflect that, I think that the hub model that I instituted is actually a much stronger model for what the Free State movement really looks like than a single model. So in that, the pavilion is no longer, that's our highlights and stuff like that. It's like, the hubs are bringing in all these different speakers. And if you bring in a speaker and on an event that is just so big that you can't handle it in your hub, we're going to consider moving it over to the pavilion. That's really kind of a larger venue. So it's kind of like our overflow. So if you have something that this year I said, I'm looking for something with about 150 to 200 attendees. It's hard to get people out of the campgrounds nowadays. It used to be, everyone was congregated down in the field. Now everyone's scattered around all those different hubs and they're having all this fun and stuff like that. And in order to bring them down to the field, it has to be something that's going to be really interesting to a particular segment, a small segment. So if you give me a speaker and an event that I'm pretty sure is going to pull in a lot of people, and a lot of people actually changes by day what that definition is. I'm going to schedule it in the pavilion just as overflow, and I'm cool with that. So you'll see a number of things in the pavilion that does Jeremy agree with it? Does Carla agree with it? Do I agree with it? Does Constance? It's not like we agree with it. All we're saying is that there's a segment here who was really excited about it. And they brought it here, and there's a lot of people are going to be going, so we're providing the space for them to actually hold it. So it's been a little bit hard for the OGs, because the OGs think of the pavilion as being, this represents us, and it represents us to the extent that it's something bubbling up. The Free State movement is hundreds of different groups. And we get into these battles because this one group will do something and this other group will say that doesn't represent us, and they're right. Of course, it doesn't represent these guys, it represents them. So we do have segmented events that doesn't represent us all, and I'm okay with that because we have multiple segments within the Free State movement.
So that kind of answered this one as well. If we don't want someone to come to the pavilion, why do you book him?
Right.
So you just answered that as well. Like,
yeah. And the answer is that it's not like, it's just, you're not in that segment, if there's an economist there and I don't like economics, well, okay, so you just don't go. But we have a group of people who really love economics. So you go for that, if
sometimes I walk past the pavilion on a speaker, I have no idea who it is, and it's just absolutely packed. And I'm like, oh, that's probably a good talk, but I wasn't attracted to it. And it's been like that for years.
Yeah, so. It's a good talk for a segment, right?
Yeah. And also, how does the FSP choose speakers? So that kind of ties in as well. So let's just go with, because you mostly answer that, but that question kind of implies that the FSP is choosing speakers, and that's not really accurate at this point.
Yeah, and I'll use a little bit longer or further. They're asking how do we get RFKs? I'll go ahead and answer that one now.
Okay.
But so I actually had two porcupines come to me, and they really wanted Cody Wilson, who's kind of the inventor of 3D gun printing here. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Please get them. So 2 independent people went out to try to get Cody Wilson. You won't see Cody Wilson on the schedule, either at the hubs or at the pavilion. And I can tell you, if he showed up, I'm pretty sure, given how strong our Second Amendment segment is, that there'd be a lot of people wanting to go see him. So I would, on something that would be really exciting, I would certainly book him. As a matter of fact, I told them to tell him that I would give Cody 2 slots. This was early on, but I would give him 2 slots, one early and one late. Just because it's a segment that really, really, really would be interested in, and we haven't had him. Now, would I get into trouble because other segments don't like Cody? Yes, I can tell you right now. And that's something I'm willing to bear because that's just part and parcel with this. But I'm confident there's enough people who would really want to hear him that we would have a good attendance in the pavilion. And now RFK, I had 5 independent porcupines come trying to find a way of getting RFK here. Do I want RFK here? No. I mean, I'm not a political guy. We have a strong political, just like we have a strong Second Amendment, we have a strong political group. And of course, the Second Amendment people think we should only bring Second Amendment people in. And the political group think that, well, we should only bring political people in because we're trying to change the politics. Oh my God. And we get into these arguments about who's more important when everyone knows I'm more important.
Well, also,
You know-
I want to say that a lot of the anti having Kennedy there is about his rules and the crowd that they think he will attempt to bring, not just that he's a political person. So
Oh no,
so
no, there's also a very strong, we don't like those
yeah,
types of politicians. And
sure.
yeah, and
There's
you're
both.
absolutely right. Those are additional pieces. So RFK actually hits a lot of those. But the rule is, what I was moving towards, and this is my last year, so someone else will come in and maybe move it back in the other direction. But the rule that I was moving in was, if one of our segments got really excited about something and brought someone in, that I was pretty assured that a lot of people would come, and it was on a libertarian theme. So a lot of the negotiations we went through with, so 5 people went out to try to get RFK, only 1 succeeded. But
And
they succeeded.
people are asking about coming just for that event and buying day passes and things that we've answered frequently, but there's a lot of newbies this year. So I should probably, I think that one actually might be for me to answer the day passes.
Yeah. But so a large part of the negotiations that we went through was, okay, we don't want a stump speech. This is a libertarian group. What do you have that can actually talk to our issues? And I love the topic that he's going after. The cronyism that's displayed with COVID, endless war, and climate change, and how cronyism takes over these movements, and that you can't actually get out of it without that cronyism taking over the politics. And now, if that's not an economics liberty talk, I don't know what is. And he's been hammering that on endless war and on COVID. So I loved it. Tulsi, we have a great topic from Tulsi, her journey from being this dyed in the wool Democrat and really believing that, and then all of a sudden realizing it didn't match her principles. Every single one of the people in that audience has gone through that process of realizing that it doesn't match my values, my core principles, and having to wrestle with that and having to go with friends. So we actually negotiate to come up with something that is really talking to our audience, because we want people to come down and really have a good time. That's all we care about. Now, if you hate Tulsi or RFK or whomever, and you don't want to go, and don't come. That's why we have so much coming in.
My journey is from I'm excited. I'm excited for RFK, not because I want to listen to him talk, but because without Sarah Palin being nominated to run as vice president, I back in the day I may have never started paying attention to politics, and from that I found the Free State Project, and my life is so much better. So sometimes those butterfly effects are, it's from finding people that are looking, but they have no idea where to look. So, do you have a question for me?
Yeah. How much are we paying for all these scumbag politicians?
We're not paying them. I'm the one running the budget this year, and I keep telling Dennis that, previous years we've had a speaker budget, and he keeps saying, I'm not using it. And he's not. He's not paid any of them. They're, as far as I can tell, other than perhaps covering a room while they're on site. And even those, I don't know the specific. Some of them might be paying Rogers directly. They're paying their own travel to get here. I am not. Hey, as controller of the budget for the PorcFest this year, I have not paid any speakers or travel fees for these
Yeah,
speakers.
and that was really a goal for my last year, that we have a lot of celebritarians and other people who want to come here, but they only want to come here because they think of it as a paid gig. And we're doing something extraordinarily fantastic here. This may be one of the most important movements of all human history, of actually developing and creating the first freed society. And if you're a libertarian, if you're a libertarian adjacent, you're not excited by that, maybe we shouldn't be bothering listening to you. Even our good celebritarians, we just said, I just said, look, that not this year, not doing that. So the people who come here, they support us in some way, or the people who the segment that really liked them crowdfunded them. And that's totally cool with me. You get crowdfunded, or you get another organization to pay. But I was not interested at all in taking money away from the Free State movement and sending it out to the authoritarian 49 for people to spend. So we don't do that. We didn't do that this year, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay.
Hey, Constance, how come all of a sudden there's no guns allowed at PorcFest? There's a couple of questions like that.
All right. Well, there are guns allowed at PorcFest. Back to the rules about, the nudity. Also, there's always been PorcFest gun rules. I remember they were at registration year after year. So it's not like we don't have rules at PorcFest. And there will still be guns at PorcFest this year. There is one event that Dennis has declared as a gun-free zone at the request of the speaker. But it is actually Dennis's final call whether or not, I'm putting you on the spot there, Dennis. But it is only the pavilion for a couple hours Thursday morning. And a lot of our very, very adamant Second Amendment attendees have come up with their own events at the same time. Some I think were actually already scheduled at that time, and it just happened to work out. And some have been added to really kind of protest that they don't like this decision of Dennis's. And so that's probably the biggest drama that we've had in this lead up.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Miranda, could you bring up the hub map again, the overall hub map?
She might have had to step away because
Oh, no, she hasn't.
she's-
See there?
she's-
Oh,
oh.
no, the other one, the big one. She likes that one first. She loves that one. We're going to be using that in just a second, hon. Here, this one. Okay, so every single one of those locations that you see there are generally gun welcoming. You can take your gun in there. Now, only about a quarter of our people are carrying guns. So 3/4, you don't really care. We have had some of those hubs ask not that people not bringing guns, and that's totally fine because it's their property. And we are libertarians, so we follow property rights. But generally, every single one of those spaces there you can go into with carrying your gun, including in the field all week long. And then if we go ahead and go down into the field, Miranda, the next slide here. But on Thursday morning, so not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but on Thursday morning, Miranda, Miranda, is she with us? There we go. Here is the view. Now, so we have the FS, that's the Fire Steel Pavilion, and they are actually having a Second Amendment and gun clubs in New Hampshire discussion, along with gun safety. And that's Tony Lekas, and that's always very pro-gun, and of course it's pro-gun. It's talking about how you can go. My wife went shooting today with a bunch of women. They had a women's shoot today. So that's going to be talking about that group. And then Up and Home, that's Constance's hub there. And there, Maj Toure will be talking about his efforts to arm the urban blacks in order to be able to protect themselves and stuff like that. And that was already scheduled right there. And then out in the field here, we're going to have Show Us Your Kits. So out there's going to be that's another hub, and there people are going to be coming out, and they're going to be showing their different equipment and guns, and there'll be kind of a show and tell. And so if you love guns, this is going to be a fantastic place to go. But there's this one place that says PAV, Pavilion, and there we're asking you, don't bring your gun in. If you absolutely must carry your gun, don't go to this event. I liken it to the analogy to me is somebody believes that they are affected by electromagnetic waves. It's an interesting speaker otherwise, and he asked that we not bring in cell phones. So we said, I don't know, how interesting is your talk? How many people really want to go, even if you don't bring in your cell phones? That was basically the decision. And the decision was that a lot of people will go. A lot of people really interested. And they don't really mind leaving their gun, or he's actually not asking for you to leave your cell phones out, okay? But for that brief period of time. But it doesn't matter. It's just one segment that is much more political and much more interested in politics than you have the Second Amendment people who think that that's the only thing that they should talk about. And then there's another segment that says, hey, there's other things we want to talk about. So this is for that segment there. Thank you, Miranda.
Okay. Are you going to ask me a question?
I think I can. Okay. There's a bunch of questions here. I'm going to just lump them together. Will we be strip searched by feds? When did feds infiltrate PorcFest? What do we do with all these feds at PorcFest? How far will the search perimeter extend?
Okay. Well, no, private security. We've always had the assumption that there would be feds at PorcFest. It's actually the running joke, and it started because, well, we have distrust of the government for very good reason. So I continue to tell people to assume that if you're going to PorcFest, there will be somebody who is watching you. I like to build in that paranoia. No, but it is not because. I can't say that there would be no additional eyes on us because of RFK Jr. Obviously, that's the point, or one of the points of having him there. So, but he is a private citizen with a private security. He is not doing strip searches, unless he wants to move to Body Freedom Village, and we all consent to that. But that's not a gun-free zone. So then we got another conflict. But I probably the question that's probably on here somewhere is everyone keeps asking, like, how do we know? How do we know you're giving up this fundamental thing for PorcFest for this? So like, how do we trust you now? And honestly, I the only thing that you can do is know that there was a bigger ask originally for the gun free, and we turned down. Dennis turned down RFK Jr. until he could get a compromise that respected property rights and respected the previous agreements with other sponsors on the field, so they would not be impacted. So that's really the only assurances that we can give you, that we're not purposely inviting in extra feds. However, we do want more attention so we can find more potential movers. So it's a balance.
And personally, that's not really my main criterion. I know that so many people have said, look, it's great to have RFK for this reason, that reason, this reason, that reason. And there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of good arguments for why they do it. That's only input to them. To me, I'm basically not going to make a judgment on it. I'm going to make a judgment more on how many of our people really want this. Is it a kind of a liberty talk that people would get excited about? And is it something that could be handled out at the out in the hubs, or does it really need to be in our large overflow? And this was obviously something. Yeah, I mean, no, you can't. you don't control Homeland. You don't control Brownstone. You don't control the Goldback hub. You don't control my field. But on this one hub, I'm okay with doing that for that one segment. And people who don't want to go, they don't have to go. We have had times when we've had hubs that have asked people not to bring guns. Last year there was one that did it famously, but certainly ones that where people are doing things with that people might be inebriated. We do have regular talks throughout the week talking about what responsible gun ownership is, and that means that you are not you are sober and clear when you have your gun.
So because we are obviously getting a lot of additional questions about this, I'm just gonna take the one about our guns allowed like 1 inch outside the pavilion. The pavilion doors will be closed for this event, and there will be screening to go in. We have not had the official meeting between the security and our head ranger Sean yet. We do have the ask that was communicated to Dennis, which has been communicated to the rangers and myself to make that happen. But we can't give you specifics yet until after that meeting happens. So I do know with confidence that if the ask becomes more than we've already agreed to, we do not need to have him there. And even though we do have people that really want him there, us respecting the rights, the property rights of the other hubs in that space would be more important than an event.
But here's the thing, I understand that there are people in one segment who say, I don't like that. Okay, so that's cool. Don't go. Turn that 15 degrees and go. There's 3 things right there, and then there's a bunch of stuff up the hill. Do some of that. Why are you being so churlish towards the segment that does want them? There is a segment that is absolutely excited.
And
Don't spoil it for them. Don't be, let's be kind to one another. Realize that just because for you, this is something that's really important. Body Freedom Village is also, they go, I've got to shed my clothes. That's really important. Look, be a mensch, be a good person, be a kind person to folks, right?
There is a question asking what hub is promoting this? So do you have authorization to say who were the people that got RFK? Or
wait, the hub is
yeah.
Pavilion.
No,
If you-
what,
oh,
who
oh,
wants
the
RFK
people who are doing, oh, right.
so they can go
I
after?
want to heap the abuse that has been heaped on us on some porcupine because they want to, come on. You
Yeah,
know,
I didn't,
I'm not
it's just
doing that.
it's just one of the questions. I want to make sure that the person who asked it got it acknowledged that we did see it and that we are choosing not to
No,
reveal
that's
names.
ridiculous. That's
Um,
ridiculous.
and
Sorry.
that's okay. It's just like a lot of these are follow-ups, so.
Let's dock this guy. Come on,
Okay.
guys. We are not Antifa. This is just, we are so much better than this, folks.
I will,
And this is another one of those ones where we have a few people who were really adamant about this, who were already not planning on coming to PorcFest. It's not your business, please.
okay, so
Stay
we
out of it. Allow these people to have what they enjoy. My
so we
goodness.
covered that it's a private security that we have to meet with still, so we don't, so are they still in flux? There is potential that they are in flux, but they were in flux, and as in they will become more of the campground. That part is not in flux. But I couldn't tell you what kind of metal detectors they're bringing, for instance, or anything like that at this point. What
Yeah,
security measures
the
will
other
be
thing
enacted?
is the other thing is Sean, our head ranger has actually worked, he's worked for a private security firm.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think, this is a friendly negotiation. We went through a whole bunch of different scenarios. We're bringing Sean in now, but I think we're in the right ballpark. It's one hub out of 100 plus. It's
Oh,
one event out of 1,000.
let me
So
just,
99.9% are
because we do
not.
have a lot of people in here, Dennis, let me cover what we have talked about privately for security measures. So I'm said that the doors
I
would
would actually prefer that we not disclose
okay.
details of security members. I mean, it's just not no one's business. The question, you're gonna be screened if you go in.
Mhm.
If that's a problem, don't go in. Boom. Telling people what type of magnetometers are coming in, and it's just, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
no, I wasn't gonna go that far. Just
Yeah,
that they would have to.
we're not giving details of the path or something like, no, we're
Okay.
just not doing this.
We're gonna not answer the paid for question until a little bit later. So who just that one's covered? Just want to make sure that we're covering the additional questions as well. So let's go back up to
How
where
about
we
this? Where
were.
am I supposed to store my gun?
So I think that and perhaps I'm overestimating, but I feel like anybody who's carrying a gun who knows that they're going to be in a situation where they might not have it with them all the time should have that information already. They should have made plans for how they're going to store their gun if they plan to, have too many drinks or such. And a lot of the people that don't have a safe way to store their gun at PorcFest should not attend the event because this does not trump gun safety rules. Obviously, you're not just going to put them in a pile outside, to be picked up later. However, this is something that Dennis might not even know yet. I am working with somebody who is trying to broadcast the pavilion speeches on the radio so that anyone can listen and stay armed. So not just have to be near the pavilion, but actually you can be at your campsite and cooking your lunch and listening in to what's going on in the pavilion. So not a done deal, but it's pretty close. So we're working on that.
Here's one for Constance. If you knew the CIA was involved in killing your uncle and thought it possible they were involved in killing your father, and you were doing, I know who did this one, and you were
I've heard
doing
this one.
similar anti-war promotion and corruption exposing in DC that they were doing when murdered, would you be cautious about firearms in public appearances?
Yeah, I think it's
Thank you, Keith.
yeah, I think I've read that one before. Yeah. And it does make sense. And it's also been stated, like, doesn't he realize that, hasn't he read the statistics about like gun owners and are more protected, less likely to be shot. And I don't think that we are the threat at all, or he
No.
wouldn't be there. It's the person who's posing as a newbie libertarian who comes and, you know, and does something that is that then makes it seem like libertarians were involved in this somehow. And so that is
As a matter of fact,
one
I
of the
was arguing that we should have a Second Amendment court and protection for him, you know, to demonstrate what responsible gun owners do. We protect people, we protect communities, we protect our family, we protect ourselves. This is, he has this electromagnetic concern. He has a fear, he has a phobia, and I have to say I understand it, but other people do too. And so what do? Do we show him how we can be good citizens, how we can be good gun owners, what it's really for? Or do we come off as the caricatures that we're made into? And I do not understand the people. And I have to say, I've had some, I'm a little bit upset with a few people because I'm going, if I didn't love you, you're the Fed. You're making us look really bad here, guys.
So let's keep going because we're already at over an hour and we have a lot of
Okay.
questions left. Dennis, I pay for the pavilion. Should I get a say what's going on there? Did we cover that enough already, or do we need to cover that more?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't pay for the pavilion, just like it's. Yeah, we do not do tragedy of the commons. We try to avoid having rules. It just doesn't work. We have to actually exert our ownership rights. We're renting the place, so therefore we're renting the pavilion. You have access into the festival. That doesn't mean that you can take off your clothes anywhere you want. That doesn't mean that you can smoke anywhere you want. That does, so different things have different rules, and the pavilion has a certain set of rules.
We're also locking things up at certain times of the day.
Oh yeah, you don't have access. Well, actually, it's so funny because every year I'll have people who actually schedule themselves into the pavilion. I'm going to give a talk on Saturday at 2:00. They'll say, and they'll actually write up and schedule themselves into the pavilion. And I'll call them up and I'll say, you know that's kind of my space. You have to check with me. Well, no, why? I should look. We're not socialists. Come on, we have property rights, and we exercise them.
And that goes in with the question for me about what scheduling time on the field. Is it just open? I'm asking myself the question, Dennis, but the reason we don't just have it open is because we're big now, and the field is it's actually a little history. Like in 2020 we only controlled the field, and then in 21 when Dennis started the hubs, a lot of people moved off the field. So I've been in charge of registration for a number of years. It was in the arcade, which was hard to get volunteers because it was so out of the fun, right? People don't want to be off in this corner listening to video games or having to keep the video games off because they're loud. So we moved it in 2020 to the field right across from the pavilion so that the volunteers down there could hear. And like there was a lot of activity in the field. And then 21, 22, things moved highly into the campground. And there were times that the field was kind of quiet. But this is PorcFest 20, and people are already booking the field because they want to have these things that they've done for PorcFest after PorcFest, like the frisbee on the field, or the other sports ball games. So you need to schedule it. It's not because we don't want you there. It's because we want to make sure you're not trying. We have more sponsored tents on the field this year. And we want to make sure that there's enough room for your event. So that's the ask. And if it's not being used at that time, we're not going to kick you off.
But I mean, if you want a kickball game, schedule it, and then, I mean, we actually have the every day we have a doggy meetup on the field at 8 o'clock. And the yoga people just scheduled something for 7:30. But it's an hour long. And I wrote them, I said, look, you're going to have doggies coming and licking your face for a downward facing dog. I guarantee you they're going to keep coming over. And so they changed it to 7 o'clock. But yeah, I mean, it's a scarce resource. We have a lot of people. We've always actually scheduled the field for like kids events and things like that. There's always been things like that. The larger we get, the more we have to just, make sure that there's an allocation. Okay, so let's see now. Why are producers being such tyrants this year? Why aren't you taking our complaints seriously, Constance?
I disagree with the premise of that question. So it's really hard to answer. It feels like one of those ones, that no matter what you answer, that it's like you're admitting it. I'm not trying to be a tyrant. I know Dennis isn't trying to be a tyrant. Or maybe I don't know that. Dennis, are you trying to be a tyrant? Let's just ask him directly.
I'm just trying to have a nice party that everyone enjoys, and we all get along. And even though we're diverse, it's okay. It's okay that we're diverse, and and if you like this, then there's stuff that and as a matter of fact, I give you guys the ability to create anything that you want. And so if there's we focus for some reason. So here you have a campground that's 99.9% literally 1 out of 1,000 events is gun restrictive, and that's the one that everyone's focused on. Why aren't you focused on the 99.9% of the events that are gun open, or the ones that are gun friendly? I mean, even in that small little area, there's gun friendly events going. Why are let's focus on the stuff that you
but
like.
There are other ways that you've been accused of being a tyrant. So let's not put it all on that one. Let's be more broad. I would say that Dennis and I have a really good communication with each other, but not necessarily with everybody outside. And we've been asked the same questions a lot. So we do kind of get to the end of like wanting to explain it. So if you're asking Dennis and you're not feeling heard, feel free to ask me, and I will see what Dennis's response is. And the other way as well. I think, Dennis, you're dealing with the harder questions. I don't think there's a lot of people that are like going to be banging on my camper door saying, why are the bathrooms closed? But, if you need to know that and I'm not responding and you need to ask Dennis or one of the management team, please do. But we are not trying to be tyrants. We're trying to create the event that will be successful and as smooth as possible. And we have great team leads this year, just amazing team leads. Like, I really want to have this event run very smoothly the week of, so I can also enjoy PorcFest 20. Like, my first was 10. This is really special to me. And I want it to go really well. So I hope I'm not coming off as a tyrant, but if I am, please let me know. But I have to make final decisions. I mean, somebody has to make final decisions, and I'm okay with that.
So here we go. Why does Dennis say he owns the pavilion? Crosby does, doesn't he? Do I need permission to go to the bathroom?
I love this one. I think I know who sent this one in. The same person who asked me if my buildings are owned by my tenants. So we have an agreement. It's a contract thing that we do with Crosby every year, where we rent the space and we create this event. Now I am sounding like a tyrant because I'm sounding a little condescending. So, but we have this contract with Crosby, and he knows that we are going to use it for PorcFest. He knows what's going on at PorcFest. He's one of the people that is actually excited for RFK. Obviously, he's not a PorcFest attendee, but he is the campground owner. So, so he didn't try to get him there. He found out after the fact, but he has given us we have been good stewards of his campground. We do not leave the place a mess. We stay and pick up trash. We make sure that his things are cared for. If there's a complaint, we deal with it. And as such, we have built a rapport with Crosby where he trusts us to schedule the things in the pavilion. and he trusts us to schedule the things in the bingo hall. And he knows that there will be kids who hit a certain age right between, right when the hormones come on, that they're more difficult, and that those kids are going to probably do something that their parents and the organizers don't like. And he's okay with letting us come back because he knows that the overall festival is very successfully ran. So it is Dennis's pavilion because he's in charge of the schedule for that week. And Crosby is
It's
totally
also
fine with that.
it's also your pavilion because you're in charge of the rules and basically who gets in there and who doesn't. And if somebody's doing something that is rude or disrespectful to our guests, basically we're inviting people into our hub. This is our hub. That pavilion is our hub. We're inviting people in, and we expect, the people, the attendees to come and be respectful and stuff, and not, and if you're being disrespectful to the speaker, you're being disrespectful to the other attendees, we're going to ask that you stop doing it.
As a matter of fact, one of the rules that Dennis was kind of surprised that we have is that you're not allowed to smoke in the pavilion. We had a call the other day about it, and I was like, no, I've asked people to not smoke in here and told them they're not allowed to smoke in here. And Dennis is like, really? Like, it's just one of those things that it's so inconsiderate to people that are allergic to cigarette smoke, that most people don't realize it because it seems like an open air event, and they light up and you ask them nicely to not do that and they put it out or step outside. So yeah, the rules are there. They've been there. I don't think I've been called a tyrant for asking somebody to put out a cigarette, but maybe. We'll see.
Well, what about this permission to go to the bathroom? We actually locked down the bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and we're providing the porta potties as alternatives and stuff like that. So, in a way, isn't it true that you're kind of controlling the bathrooms in some way?
It is true that I and Tim, who is our facilities guy, who's amazing, are controlling the bathrooms. And he sent out and he posted it all. So I don't want to have to iterate it now. But we have good reasons for locking them overnight. We are asleep. If there's a plumbing issue, we're not going to deal with it. We're going to wake up and there's going to be no water. So they do get locked at night, but there is bathrooms available. We pay to have them cleaned. And we're just gotten so big. People have asked for years and years and years. This is actually one of the reoccurring dramas of PorcFest is, why don't you guys move to a better facility that has more of this, that, or the other? And we always say, the best answer is find us a better place. We will gladly
Please.
move. And nobody has come up with a better place. So we go back and, the same dripping shower happens every year. But to be fair, I have the same maintenance issues that last through multiple years at my own place of residence. So we do the best we can with the facility that we have. And we do take the feedback and try to improve at least this is why I'm excited to do the operations, because this is my background, and we've got a great team. So, I can't control whether there's a drought, but if there's not a drought and the wells are full as they should be, we should be squeaking by with enough water. So conserve.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I changed around the PorcFest and we started getting the large numbers that we did, the question came up: what is the capacity for Rogers? We just didn't know it. And it turns out that water is one of our big limiters. So, we are very careful and conscious, and we do stuff with water. And you don't need my permission to pee, but that is something that we are very concerned with. Hey, here's an easy one. God, thank God.
Okay, let's do
I
it.
don't have crypto. How do I buy anything?
Federal Reserve notes, barter, silver, gold backs, one of our sponsors. He will take your not gold backs and give you gold backs. So it's actually very easy. I have very, very rarely spent crypto at PorcFest. I prefer to hold it. So it's more yeah, that one's easy.
Bring lots of fives and ones.
Yeah, bring small
Very
bills.
important. Lots of fives and ones. You're going to be glad that you did.
And barter and also vend, like if you're worried, if you're doing it on a budget, you don't have to put up a hub. You don't even have to put an event. Just walk around with some sandwiches or some sodas or something and make some money. It's very easy. It's not limited to only kids that do that, but kids definitely do that.
All right, how about this one? Didn't Jeremy tell us to sneak in guns? Should we sneak in weapons through RFK?
All right, so we went from easy to hard. All right, so no, Jeremy did not say that. Jeremy said that he personally could see that he has some understanding why people would want to do that and finds some humor in it. But he also said that that should not happen, that you should follow the property rights of the hub owner, and that Dennis is the hub owner. And we discussed it after the fact. Jeremy is very much on board that nobody should be sneaking in, and has asked me for clarification. What will happen if somebody tries to sneak in a gun to the Kennedy event, and you will be asked to leave PorcFest, and you will be banned from future PorcFest, because we do take this very seriously. It wasn't a light decision. It wasn't. Dennis has been trying for years to have a gun-free event at PorcFest. He knew that there would be tons of backlash with doing this, and the benefits outweighed the risks, and he moved forward. And so, yeah, that's don't.
And it's really one of these things where there's a minority of people who, actually it may even be a majority of people who want something, and like I said, just let them get there. How can we protest someone who's against the Second Amendment? It's important that we send a clear message to the world about guns.
Well, that's already being done. Join the Suns Out, Guns Out protest, and show your kit. And make sure that when you're talking about no firearms, that you're very clear that you don't support them in common spaces or government controlled spaces, but that you do understand that people are allowed to limit them in their house, and also that you find that makes them less safe. I think that Dennis and I can all agree that, like he said, he wanted to have our own people that we knew helping protect Kennedy, but they turned that down. So it's not that we have suddenly decided that gun-free zones are safer. It's just that's what the request was.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Jim Osterwich is presenting up at the Liberty 101 a new study about how guns actually make a society safer and wealthier. So I mean, we know the arguments. There's more to RFK than Second Amendment. But I mean, why not go in there and make a cogent, respectful argument? I suggested a number of things. And I just have to say I'm disappointed that we haven't found an easier way through this. Anyway, here's a question for you.
Okay.
How do I find my way around the campground, Constance?
Better signage. Better signage. That's how you find your way around. We're gonna have better
Can you bring up the map
signs.
again? Can you bring up the map again, Miranda? Hopefully she's still with us.
We're gonna have clearly marked signs for registration for the campground parking and registration, which is moved. I have to switch over to the big screen here. So okay, here we go. So registration is now in this area. So you're gonna park. You guys, can you see there we go. You're gonna park and go into the campground. They're gonna give you their campground map, and they mark on there how to get to your site and which directions the roads go. And then after you leave there, you'll go through the gate, which is right next to Alu's hub. and go to your campsite. So Dennis is kind of showing you like the roads do have directions on them. We will have things very well marked. And then once you're at your site, you can come back up to the registration for PorcFest itself, which is very close to the campground registration. So right where Dennis is circling, and then we have Porc Info. So after you get your bracelet and your magnet and you check in, then you can go to Porc Info and pick up the scavenger hunts to acquaint yourself with the variety of hubs that have volunteered to be part of that. And also we do have a question about parking. So since you have the map up, go ahead and show that you actually take the upper road. So once you turn around that bend and you go up, you'll hit the parking sections in the back by the gazebo, and those will be marked as well. And we'll have a couple cars kind of park at the beginning of each row to kind of show you where to pull in. So very important, if you are staying off site, you still have to check in to the campground office and pay your day pass, your usage pass. So that usage pass is a sticker. You put it on your car. The office is actually the person who controls the gate going up or down, not PorcFest. So once you're authorized to be on site at the office, then you can, in the campground office, then you can go into PorcFest. And our facilities are all tents or cabins and not the office. So hopefully that's a reasonable explanation. And these are actually numbered. These parking sections will be numbered, so you'll know which one to fill first, second, third, fourth. And we are going to leave the ones closest to the field for folks who need more mobility help. Also, please don't block the dumpsters.
Yeah, now, and then this Silk Road allows you to kind of cut across pretty easily. And there are people along the Silk Road who have kind of cool things that they're selling or offering or telling. So we actually did a better job of finding people to fill those Silk Roads. And then the hubs themselves they have an option to actually get signs that have the number, the site number. So you can be walking down and then you can see, oh geez, I'm here at site number 168. And so you can find yourself on the map that way too. So we'll be talking to the hubs about better signage for themselves, because you'll be going kind of from hub to hub.
All right. So this one, Dennis, this one's for you. We should invite all New Hampshire legislators to PorcFest for free. So yes, no, why, under a minute.
Okay. So the answer is you may invite anyone you want, and you may pay for them as you choose. If you want to crowdfund legislators, that's cool. That's not what the purpose is of PorcFest. You could make it the purpose of PorcFest. It would be a different thing. We have lots of events throughout the year. Invite them to those events. We have, and those I think will showcase us better. If you really want to wow the Democratic legislators, take them to a debate, invite them actually to debate, we can have good discussions and things like that. Now, I did invite a number of detractors, some of whom are Democrats, to a Why the Free State Project Sucks. That would be a pavilion-worthy event. I did get the chairman of the New Hampshire Democrats to agree to do that for Liberty Forum. Had a panel and everything. They backed out. I was hoping to replicate it here in PorcFest. Someday, though, we'll have something like that.
Or someday we'll stop asking because they won't matter anymore.
Maybe.
We're going to think big. Okay, so we covered parking, campground.
What is this beergasm thing?
It's a private event. It's on the schedule. It's been happening for years. Brittany Ping has organized it, and I don't go because I don't drink beer.
What do Pork Rangers do?
Pork Rangers are actually a long time as actually my first PorcFest, it was the Church of the Sword were the Rangers. So that's kind of back, but not quite way back. But what they do is they are asked to make sure the rules of PorcFest are followed, with the understanding that their first priority is to de-escalate anybody who is, I mean, the first assumption is that people are breaking the rules because they don't know the rules. And so we inform them. And then after that, if they're still doing it, then we try to figure out the why and de-escalate. And after that, if they are still breaking the rules, we ask them to leave. It's very similar if you had a party at your house and somebody got belligerent, they would not be allowed to continue to disrupt your other guests. And so this year we have the Pork Rangers have also are bringing in folks to teach personal responsibility and classes on self-defense. So that's still to be announced. Our Pork Ranger team is amazing, but they don't quite have everything on the schedule yet. So to be announced how they're not only helping keep the event very safe, they're also helping the attendees take that information back with them when they leave.
Someone's asking what happens if the parking gets filled. We actually do have good amount of parking. We do ask people to park right at the edge of the road. So, if you're using that first row, park right on the edge, have your bumper right on that edge, and then park, don't go parking at angles and or sideways or something like that. But if we haven't had trouble in the past, I've actually been impressed because the way I count the numbers, we ought to have more trouble, but we haven't, and so I have my fingers crossed here. It's really the water that's been the biggest limit. I mean, we have so many things that could limit us. Parking has not been one of them.
We only put 3 rows on that map, and there's actually more space back there that could be turned into parking. It just hasn't been necessary, and it becomes just such a long walk. We do ask the campers to try to fit their cars onto their campsites, so that helps a lot as well, and not to park alongside the road because it is forest season. There are lots of people driving motorhomes that don't drive them every day. Like, it's just not a good idea to leave your car on the road. Also, it's the main place people park if they try to sneak in. So you are being watched if you park on the road to see if you go to the office and register, and not just by PorcFest attendees, but actually I've had the office staff tell me that this person walked in and didn't come to the register for the campground or for the festival. So
what's the best day to go to PorcFest? I'll take this one, and that's people think that of PorcFest, some people think of it as kind of a one-day thing, or I'll just go the weekend. I highly recommend, especially if you're a newbie, to come early and meet the hubs. I actually suggest that you come and help them set up their hubs. There's nothing better than helping set up a lounge, and then you kind of they know you, and they're there, and now all of a sudden you're part of their little group welcoming newbies coming in. And so it's a good way of integrating yourself. By the weekend, things are getting so hectic and so many activities. It's harder to meet people. On Wednesday morning, I think we have various U.S. regional meetings. So all the people from Massachusetts, or all the people from the Mid-Atlantic, or all the people from the South. And I highly recommend that newbies go to that and meet various people. And these can be kind of your touchstones throughout the entire week. So when you see something fun and you bump into them at a food vendor, you can tell them all about it. So the earlier you can get there and establish yourself and feel comfortable in this space, the more fun you're going to have, especially later on when in the week when when things are really moving at a fast clip, because you already know how to get around the place. You already know who's who. You already know kind of the cool lounges and the not so cool lounges food vendors are. So I suggest get there early. I get there the weekend before, but I have work to do. But my guess is next year when I'm running a hub, I'll probably get there over the weekend as well.
And to go back, because I know we touched on this, the reason we don't sell day passes, one, it makes running registration extremely difficult. And two, we are looking, like Dennis said earlier, for people to enjoy the whole festival. And three, we sell out. So we're going to prioritize tickets to the folks who are looking to come for more than one day.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody who's been there the whole week, we want them to be getting the good seats for, whomever they want. Let's say it's RFK or Tulsi or something like that. We don't want someone who comes in and they're not there for the purpose. Remember what the purpose is. The purpose is to actually talk to people who are prospective movers. We don't want people to come and who aren't even bothering to do that. They're just coming in and occupying a space because they want to they want to see somebody and then they leave. We have events. We have events all year round. We have a rich variety of events. We take advantage of those. If you want to go to kind of a single event or a couple of events. PorcFest really is this immersion into simulated Liberty Village, kind of a tolerant big tent, live and let live village.
So one of the questions that is for me is, do you guarantee I'll be safe without my gun? No, I don't guarantee you'll be safe with your gun. That's not how life works. That's why we have enter at your own risk on the silicone bracelets a couple years, because there was this virus that people were afraid of, including myself. And Dennis, we have health conditions that make our, at the time we didn't have enough information, so we were being more cautious in 2020. Please do not, if that is what you need to feel safe in the world, please don't give it up to listen to a speaker. Just do any of the other events on the campground, but you are still, even without your firearm, in charge of your own personal safety.
The link given to me to print my ticket doesn't work.
Yes.
Oh, that is the most
And
we apologize. That is a bug that has been sitting around for every year. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Constance, go ahead.
No, like I said earlier, I've run registration for a number of years and we don't know why. We're scrapping the entire system for next year. We have a team of volunteers working on a new ticketing system that is supposed to be in place before PorcFest, so that next year's tickets will not be like this. But what I put actually in PorcFest plans is, if you have confirmation that you paid, so it came out of your bank account, it's on your credit card, it's through PayPal, however it looks on your end, if you can show that if you can see for yourself, don't even show us, you can see for yourself that you paid the money for your ticket, you have a ticket. What you don't have is an email telling you that you have a ticket, because whatever glitch is that we've had multiple very intelligent IT people look at, we can't figure it out. And so if you need the ticket to book a campsite, which right now there aren't any available, you can email me or Chris Lopez and we will look up your ticket and give you a copy. But you only need your order number to book your site. And other than that, you don't have to bring anything to PorcFest. We will have the list and we will look you up from the list, because that part actually works. It's the getting it to you ahead of time that is very difficult. And this becomes a huge problem when we sell out and people start transferring tickets. There is no really good system for that. If you have the email and you trust the person you're selling it to, you're quite off. The best thing you can do is just forward them the email and let them bring their email. If you don't have the email, or you don't know the person and you don't want to get scammed out of money, then you just have to reach out to the organizers. And remember, we're volunteers. It may take a week to get back to you. feel free.
Has anyone ever been kicked out of the festival?
Yes. That's a
Uh,
yes or
eh,
no question, right? Like,
Well, the answer is actually very, very rarely. We try not to do that. Last year, there were a number of instances that we said, "Hey, something's weird's going on. Let's go check it out." The park rangers are excellent at de-escalating and trying to figure out what's going on. We talked about the park rangers, and most of their job is actually finding lost kids and helping people out. A girl a girl had her bike damaged by a car, and they took up a collection. People do lost and found. So somebody found a big pouch of money. It turned out that it was from the Porcupines, and the Porcupines came down later. One of the women from Porcupines, because I know I'll never find this, but I lost this money, and the park ranger said, "Well, here it is." So it's actually a very fine festival, but there are every once in a while instances. We try not to. We don't want to do that. But we do have some hard lines, and they do have to do around specific threats of violence, or that type of, or we have actually asked people who were just too inebriated to leave.
and we've had problems with the seasonal campers too, and that we have to ask Crosby to ask those folks to leave.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we do try to keep the campground
We've actually kicked out Rogers employees.
that are no longer Rogers employees.
That's right. But we've actually said we will not, as the renter of this space, we will not accept this person anymore there.
Yep.
And that was a tough negotiation. That was one that was not fun.
So why don't we only feature porcupines from New Hampshire?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we do feature porcupines from New Hampshire, and we do a lot of it. That was actually the first thing that I did 5 years ago when I first started volunteering for PorcFest. Was I really upped the number of porcupines that we have, and showing some of the 100 or so different groups that we have here. That's really what I'd like to do. But there are groups that I go, please come and share your work. And then they don't come. And I go, why would you not come? And they're so busy, and so many different things are happening. So right now, I think in terms of total number, we have more porcupine events than ever. But we also, I give tools to anybody to create any type of event they want. And so, if somebody from Wyoming wants to do how to shear a sheep, please do it. People will come and be very interested and entertained. People can create anything they want. We want people who are creators. And so that's why the events and the hubs are out there as tools for you to actually go and create stuff and share that with other people and find people who like your creations. Okay. Where does all the money go? Why is PorcFest so expensive?
So I find PorcFest very affordable, especially the ticket part, the part that goes to PorcFest and therefore the FSP. I can't really answer what happens after. This is my first year being in charge of the budget. I would say that it looks like the money will go to more outreach. It's definitely not going to lavish parties for definitely not going to Dennis or me. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with Dennis about how I'm not doing paid work as a realtor right now because I'm doing so much time for this. So it's actually costing me quite a bit of money to do this. But it is a labor of love, and I want more movers to come to New Hampshire. So you'll have to ask the board where the money for PorcFest goes, but there will be a profit this year for sure.
I sure hope to fix that one bug too. I mean, boy, that bugs me. Hey, you don't want people to come to one event and leave? You mean like Constance just mentioned some people are doing for the RFK talk?
Uh, people have asked about it and they could buy tickets and do it. I don't want them to do it, which is why I'm working on the ability for them to hear the talk live without having to actually come, because we actually have a volunteer who is trying, and this is one of the reasons this is being done on Zoom, is so that we can have the recording, and he is going to broadcast it on internet radio for us. So this information will be available to people, and hopefully somebody driving around listening to some random internet radio will find out about us and think it's the coolest festival in the world, because it is, and they will come and spend a week with us next year.
Are we expecting more media presence? Do we ask media to officially register their presence? I don't like, there's another one here. I don't want to be, I don't want anyone filming me. Are there news cameras here?
So I said those are for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there probably will be, and that's a good thing. We didn't know last year that the NBC documentary was happening, and we asked them to wear press passes and tell everybody that they were, and they complied and ended up putting together a really nice docuseries. And I know they will be back because they're on the schedule. So they will definitely be there. We have in the ticket, we have terms and services that you agree to, and one of them is that there will be people taking pictures, so, and recording. So that really is just a comfort level. How to avoid it, I guess, don't do super interesting things. Avoid people that have big cameras. There's so much going on. I don't think that there's going to be like one person following one family around for the week without their consent, like a paparazzi type of thing. You might be in a panned shot. It might end up on national news, but we've really had that for many years. That's been I don't want to say a risk feature, depending on your point of view. And I was gonna say something else about that. Like I said, we will ask them to wear press passes, but the same way we don't know who's the Fed. If somebody wants to do a infiltration documentary on us without revealing it, we really can't control that. So just live your life in a way that, if somebody takes a picture of you doing something, you're not gonna be embarrassed by it for the next 20 years, I guess. I don't know if I have a better answer for that.
What if there's an emergency, Constance? What do we
So
do if there's an emergency?
this is one of the things that I'm very excited about. We have a 603 number. It has actually been published, but not widely yet. It will be on signs, it will be on bracelets, and it will ring to the Rangers. So you will no longer have to find a radio or find a way to flag down somebody with a cart if there's an emergency. It will be much easier. You will be able to text pictures. It's an internet-based phone number, so you will be able to send, like, here's a picture, this is happening, or this is the kid that's lost. Can you share this one around? It can go out to Rangers. A picture could be shared on Telegram. This is the kid we're looking for. So if your kid gets lost, it'll much easier to connect people to get the kid back. They're almost always just with friends. And a request from the Rangers is to please let everyone know when a kid is returned or found, so that they do not continue to look for them. So with this new phone number, it should be a lot easier. If you find your kid on the way to the hotel at the end of the night, you can just call this number and say, "Kid's found, we're heading in." You don't have to try to find a ranger who's out looking for your kid. So that, I hope, will be a lot better. And we also have the ability to take the registration tent and make it an outpost for the Rangers overnight. So they will be able to see the gate and the playground after registration closes in the evenings, if that's necessary. So I think there have been a lot of improvements that way. So newbies won't know the issues that we've worked on, but people that have been here for a few years will see that we're taking the safety of the kids especially very seriously, and trying to put things in place that will help.
So I'm going to combine a couple of questions. What type of music is there? There's too much on the calendar for me to process. How do I know which event to go to? And there's 2 or 3 things at the same time. How do I choose which to go? Okay, so hopefully you all have found at porcfest.com the schedule. So the schedule is basically like kind of a Google type schedule. You should be very familiar with it. It's got about a third of the events I expect right now. It will only have about twice, a little bit more than twice that's on there. The rest of the events, like I said, are going to be these kind of, events that are in the cracks. They'll be advertised by leaflets, or, people will just tell you about it, whisper campaigns, or we tell hubs to set up whiteboards so that they can put up their events. So, keep your eyes open. But anyway, the question here is, okay, there's so much going on. How do I kind of process it? I can tell you there is a wide variety of music. Any hub can actually create a music event, or any campsite can create a music event. You want to create a music event or something like that, just like any event, just, and you just have a campsite, just go ahead and enter it in as an event. And it will be on the regular PorcFest thing, and people can come and listen to some guitar work, or we've had drum circles and things like that. We do have Jordan Page coming back Friday nights. He's playing at the Pavilion Friday, and then Saturday he's playing at one of the hubs, or actually just a campsite. We have an emo music night. We have a kind of a more disco night, both at the Pavilion. We have more of a Jack Lloyd and the Philosopher doing something Monday nights. And I think Tuesday night we actually have another guy who wants to come in and just play some kind of more quiet, fun, music that is funny for libertarians. But I highly recommend. I do put out about a week beforehand. I do put out a spreadsheet that has all the events. I actually was really nerdy of the first few years and gave people the option to be able to pick and choose and prioritize and then sort. And it was really, really cool. But only a few people used it, so I'm not going to do it. So what I suggest is week out, there's still going to be lots of events dropping. But the events that have dropped, they will go on a spreadsheet. You will have access to it, and then just create your own copy it over, and cut and, delete the things that you don't like, and you can prioritize, create another column, prioritize it, and then write up your own schedule. I can assure you though, your schedule that you come up with will be way more than you could possibly ever do. And PorcFest is so much more than just events. It's the connections and things like that you're going to be having. People are always focused on the events beforehand, and then when they leave and they go, PorcFest is so fantastic because of the people I met and the conversations I had all throughout the campground. So anyway, that's a long way of saying you will have a spreadsheet, and good luck out there.
So I think we already covered this one. It's a separate question, but I'm just going to answer it or ask it. So, how do I get a spot on the stage to talk? I think we've pretty much
yeah. I mean, so you do have on the Facebook page, there is a list of hubs that are currently looking for events. So their venues or lounges. I just had a musician contact me, and I said, look, these 100 hubs, how many of them would actually like a musician? A bunch of them. If you have a food vendor, you have a musician, during kind of an off hour, and people come and they're eating your food and listening to the musician, and like any campground can do it. The pavilion's full. I've had people come and rattle and yell at me for, I want this because I deserve it. I go, this I've been working on this now for 11 months. The Liberty 101, I'm still looking for a couple of really, really, really good intro talks. You know, I have a few people who are offering things and still kind of looking for something that will be really exciting to folks. But those are the only things I'm looking at. The field actually is open. We did have some conflicts with a Renaissance dance and a particular event, and we had the conflict with the yoga and the dogs. So we're working those out. But the field actually, there's, you know, if you want to do a kickball game or you want to do something with the kids, or, you know, you can, you know, contact me, and there's still spots there. You know, right, you know, with us less than a month, if you want a spot on the field, that's great. You know, we'll definitely give it to you.
And
That's it.
there is room down next to where they build the porcupine too, the kind of down behind the pavilion where somebody could do an outdoor activity like yoga without it being actually in the middle of the field. It's not a hub, so it might be kind of hard to find. But
Somebody wanted to note that all the rifles are visibly unloaded. So that's kind of a rule. Yeah, they actually run the thing through, and I forget what that's called, but you know, that's
Trigger
one of the
guard.
gun safety things that you'll learn at PorcFest. We have an etiquette class that our gun people do, which is actually one of the events that's going to be happening at the same time RFK's going. But it happens multiple times. There's also some shoots there if you're interested in trying your hand and seeing what that's like.
Are we
Those are
using
not yet up on the events though.
are we using pork magnets on the driver's side as interest passes again? We are going to have the magnets again this year, but you do need a campground sticker as well for the gate to open. So the magnets are pretty much just because we all want them now versus an actual entrance pass, since PorcFest itself does not monitor the gate. So before it was you'd get Crosby's gate opening because of your campground sticker, and then you'd stop at a second gate, show your wristband or your magnet. That doesn't exist anymore, but the magnets still do because of course they do. We need them.
What's the internet situation up there?
It's better every year. Data has become better every year as well, but I don't that is a what I will follow up on.
Yeah, the cell surface has really gotten good. I mean, the cell service used to be so bad. And then my wife actually did a hotspot for me to do some of the internet stuff I needed to do. The service that Crosby sells is,
Yeah, it's paid.
boy, I tell you, I am not a fan.
We will be using it for the pavilion and such. So, but it's not great, but we do use it.
Okay, so what about excruciatingly loud death metal throughout the night?
The campground has an 11 p.m. curfew, although I will say that on Friday or Saturday night, it does seem to get pushed a little later, especially Saturday night because that's the last night. But there should not be screaming death metal, and that would be a call to the rangers if it's going on past the end of the curfew time.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, we're trying to be kind to one another, and so you know, we do have people who say, "Wow, we should be out partying all night long," and it's like, no, people have kids. You know, come on. You know, just because you're not in a segment doesn't mean that we ignore those other segments. So let's, you know, this is a big tent. We're going to be tolerant and supportive of each other.
Which leads us to the question of, should we tell the speaker that we don't want them there while we're watching them? You should not do that. What Dennis has specifically said, and I think this is brilliant, is if you don't agree with somebody, come up with the hardest libertarian questions that you can throw at them. Like, that is the way to really get a good conversation going, find out people's thoughts, let them squirm a bit. That is way better than you know, just I don't like you attacks. So don't do those.
Right. Is there anything else here that's we're covering? Thank you. Thanks everyone
Are we the government? No, we're not the government. No, we are volunteers who put a lot of time into something that we love to try to make it better. And we run it kind of like we'd run it if it was our little business. Like I am running a very tight budget. We're not spending lavishly the same way I run my personal business, and all my department heads are volunteers as well. So as such, I treat them with respect, and I treat the attendees with respect. At least I try to. I sure hope I don't give off the tyrant, but I will as like a boss take the buck stop tier position. So and Dennis and I are both very key on we will not allow our volunteers to be mistreated. So
Yeah, that's just, I mean, I don't understand the entitlement sometimes that people think that, oh yeah, I can just abuse these people who are giving you their time and trouble. I just don't think we should do that to each other.
what should we take to PorcFest? Sunblock. Says
So
the fair person.
we have a sheet I think it's in Telegram and Facebook. It's a spreadsheet.
I think
It's very long. And it's broken down by if you're going to be camping, if you're a hub, if you're just attending for the day, and it's got lots of ideas and why things are there. I highly recommend that you go through it, and you copy it over, make it your own, and print it out and use it as your checklist, and then add your own things in there. But that was a labor of love, I think 2 years ago, and then I updated it last year, and I'll probably update it again this year. But it's there for your use.
It sounds like somebody in the chat wanted people to know that they're making a printable schedule, and they and their son will be selling it. And can we use Jitsi next time? We are using it for our management calls, but for these calls that have a lot of people and that we're recording, it's not worked out so far.
The busiest day will probably be Friday night. But because we don't do day passes, and because we've really focused on this week-long immersion, it's a lot flatter than it has been in the past. So if you come in the past and expect like nobody's going to be there early in the week, it's just not true. We have we actually start, you'll see the schedule has things already on Monday. The official, the stuff that we do, we start scheduling is noon on Tuesday, but it starts off pretty hot and heavy.
I actually had one of the department managers say, "Why do we have things on for Monday if we don't start until Tuesday?" So, but one of the Monday events is helping set up. So please come down to the field and help us set up if you're there, because it really does make a huge difference, and we very much appreciate anybody. And you get to meet folks. It's the greatest thing. If you get there early and you're a newbie, please come and help us set out. You will get to meet folks. We'll put you on a project together, and you can, talk to somebody who's been there before, and they can kind of direct you in what they think is the most important thing. The busiest day is, like Jenna said, Friday or Saturday, and we do the family photo on Saturday as a tradition. It's always been around 2 or 3 in the afternoon on Saturday.
And please come for the family photo, because basically what it is it's our way to say to the status that we are here and we are growing and we are strong. So please come to it. It's very important. If you don't want your picture taken, turn away from the camera. That 15-degree turn, just make it 180. Just and you'll actually see, if you look at the past photos, you actually see there will be a number of people that you don't actually see their faces, you see their backs. But there they are. There you can count them.
And an improvement that we've made this year is we're going to have sound system on the field for that. So you will actually be able to hear the directions from the photographer. We have a confirmed photographer, and I'm sure there will be people with drones as well. But there will be a way to communicate with the crowd where you should stand and where to move, and whether we can see everybody or not see everybody as they want to be.
We have a bunch of other kind of odds and ends about RFK, it looks like. Oh, how does he feel about guns being so close to the pavilion, and will he be upset? I mean, look, I already told them that we're a heavy guns thing, that we have about a quarter of the people with guns, and that we're heavy Second Amendment. They understand that. They actually tried to work with us on some solutions that I really liked. This is a solution that I was not, I didn't know. And really the answer was, how many people are going to go despite this? Well, that's the question. It's not, so the answer was a lot of people wanted to go, and I said, all right, then that's what we're doing. I'm not going. Busy. I'm not a political guy. I don't give a damn about this. But for the people who want it, it's there. And the people don't want it, there's lots of other stuff. So go to that.
Right. So we know who asked, and we've already covered, are they paying for the space? No, the ticket covers everything, not one particular part. And even if it was, I don't know how that would change things. It's definitely not an endorsement.
Well, no, all 3,000 attendees must approve of every single event, because of course otherwise that would be. I mean,
I guess the market response is, if that 3 hours is so against your values that you don't come next year, that's the response.
99.9% are gun welcoming. My goodness.
We just made mostly Dennis, but I 100% support the decision to have RFK there, that the overall benefit to the FSP would be higher than the negative of having a gun-free zone at PorcFest. I mean, I think it really does show to everybody that as long as it's voluntary, we can accommodate it at PorcFest. Voluntary consensual activities, and we will do it in such a way that it's limited and doesn't affect the rights of other people. So that's
okay. I think we're good.
that. Is there any
So
more?
listen, guys, this is going to be so much fun. Don't let the drama and everyone's concern. It's all a matter of choice, and you are going to have a blast. You're just going to have such a fantastic time. If you're not having a blast, turn that 15 degrees and that's where it is. There's just so much here.
We do have another question. Am I going to have to jump through hoops for the video or audio? I don't think so. The person, I can actually tell you the internet radio that he's putting it. He's actually trying to make a PorcFest radio channel all on his own.
Oh, nice.
Actually, I'll post it in Telegram and PorcFest plans what the internet radio is. But he has already started rebroadcasting, or will be once I get him this. And so if I can get him a stream, which we've done improvements to the audio equipment this year. So if we can get him a stream as it's happening, he can just put it out on internet radio, and it's radio 8424. So I was able to turn it on the other day and hear some other things on there. So so hopefully, and then there's another group that's working on actually doing it like short band radio locally. So there's multiple people working on figuring out a way for people to be able to listen and keep their guns.
And I don't know who's going to be doing this next year. And my recommendation, though, is that if you want your segment stuff on the pavilion and that type of thing, bring in the people, bring in the speakers. I mean, we only had 2 people trying to get Cody, and we had 5 people trying to get RFK. One of them pulled in RFK. So that's 7. You need 7. So, get another 5 on Cody. And then now all of a sudden you got a big, a Second Amendment, 3D gun guy at Pavilion. Who else can you get? Just, the solution isn't whining about stuff. It's actually competing. Come, whom is it that you want to bring?
I wanna-
Create your
wanna-
hub, bring them to your hub. And if you have something that's so hot that you're going to have like 100, 200, 300 people there, well, that's an overflow. We put it up in the pavilion as long as it's libertarian theme.
I actually tried to do the Robert Kiyosaki one. So he's got a forum on his site, but it aired out. So I was bummed. Not that I
Yeah.
expect him to attend PorcFest, but
Yeah, there were a couple of people who dropped out that I was really disappointed that they dropped out. I really, because my taste is, I have a few people here who I'm really, really excited about, but no one else is going to be excited about. People are different. They have different taste, and that's what we're doing. We're doing market segmentation, guys.
my first PorcFest, I actually ended up spending a lot of time in what would now be a hub, and that was part of what made my first PorcFest so special, is that we had a group of people that had met online, and we spent a lot of time around a campfire. And it
Yeah.
definitely, and most of those folks aren't even from New Hampshire, and they're not in my social circle now, but the people that it attracted are I'm now friends with people that are very similar to those folks that I sat around the campfire with, and it's just made my life so much better. And if I hadn't gone like to that PorcFest,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
those
don't know.
lounges are really great to hang out in. And you're going to meet people. The events are kind of more, we do have like demonstrations and how-tos and things like that, which are a lot of fun. I like more experiential things than talks for PorcFest. But you do anything that you want in your hub. But so much of this is kind of lazing around with people, talking to them beforehand on Facebook or Telegram or Signal or however. You set up your affinity group, and then you meet in real life, and that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun.
That's pretty much how we all met. We were all listening to Wes Bertrand's Complete Liberty and became friends online, and then met at the PorcFest in 2013.
We do have some hubs that are focused around podcasts. And if those are podcasts that you really like, go to those and meet people who also like it. That's a great way to find people who are very similar to you, who are in your segment.
All right. Are we out of questions?
I don't see any more.
All right. Well,
Carol,
thanks
are we
everyone.
done? All right. Thank you, guys.
Good night.
Whew, that's called a marathon.
See you all soon. Bye.